because the LA mayor, Karen Bass, she will provide cash assistance to immigrants, which i.e. illegals, affected by the ICE raid. So
By
she's
the way, before we even go any further, under Title 8, Section 1324, that's a felony to do what she's talking about doing. To advocate that is a felony. So she's committed felonies by advocating the process. So come on, Justice Department, submit this fool's circumstances to a grand jury, get her indicted, prosecute her, and lock her up in jail. Because as a public figure, the federal sentencing guidelines would deliver enhanced punishment.
mm-hmm.
That's a crime. No doubt about it.
Well,
She's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's certainly probable cause to charge her. So let's get to charging her.
Well, she said LA has been under assault as masked men snatch people off the street and chase people through parking lots. Today, the court ruled in favor of the United States Constitution. This is a win for Los Angeles, and it's a win for the cities across the nation. So it says judge blocks Trump administration tactics.
That's a district court judge. That doesn't count. You have to get up to the Ninth Circuit, and then if it got to the Ninth Circuit, it would be a 3-member panel, and then they go to the full 9, and then it would go to the U.S. Supreme Court. So ain't nothing happening right now.
Angelinos, today we had an important victory at the court. So now there will be a restraining order. They won't just be able to drive through the streets and snatch people off the streets. We know that all of this has been about creating a sense of fear and terror in our community, but I'm hoping that this ruling will give people a sense of peace, that maybe they can leave home now, maybe they can go back to work, maybe they don't have to live in so much fear. We have to use every possible strategy available to us. Today, it was a victory in the courts. I know it will be challenged, but still, we won today, and we have to keep up the fight.
And you just put another nail in your coffin with Title 8, Section 1324. And look, lady, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I'm used to, you will show me your papers, yeah? Now, what you talking about, papers? Conrad, he does not have his papers. He's not good, yeah? You have no papers? Hey, man, you mean like a driver's license or something? I ain't driving no car. You do not have your papers. He's not good, yeah? Like LAPD used to jack us up all the time. And Richard Pryor's got a line in one of his joke albums or one of routines. All right, boy, on the wall. What wall? Find one. And that was the way we got treated. So I'm not impressed by this little lightweight thing where they have probable cause to stop somebody. And I'm living in this country where the border is wide open, and 911 was bad enough 25 years ago, 24 years ago. What happens when Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, all of these people that do not like us in Gaza, Ukraine, everywhere else, the People's Republic of China, they've already infiltrated folk who do not have to be suicide bombers. They have had the time to implant the military-grade explosives and just simply await the command to flip the switch and blow up a whole lot of stuff that will make 911 and Pearl Harbor look like they are kindergarten productions.
Mm.
Now, I'm really impressed.
Well,
and I pay taxes, and a lot of federal taxes go back to California, and I'm still fighting with these son of a bitches in California about me owing taxes when I have not lived there. And under my crew, we say Joe Brown's not subject to state income tax. I resent, goddammit, my income taxes, whether improperly obtained or properly obtained and diverted through the feds back to these clowns, being used for this purpose.
It says Supreme Court Rule 72 and the Trump administration favor allowing illegal immigrants to be deported to a country they have no ties to. So it's like the Supreme Court, he has the ability to deport, but she is signing executive orders submitting a request under Freedom of Information Act about when and where enforcement activities have taken place in LA, the identities of individuals and reasons they were arrested or detained. We will also be requesting information.
Or aid and abet others in blocking the activities of federal law enforcement under Title 8, Section 1324. That's a felony.
Well,
now let's get on it and indict a trifling behind.
So what is this with her? Under a new executive order, she's submitting a request under the Freedom of Information Act.
Doesn't make any difference. It's a felony.
Because she's right. So it's like, okay, you can request all the information you want. Your actions is breaking the law. You're still breaking the law.
By the way, the act specifically says official status or capacity is no exemption from application of the law.
Mm-hmm. So here, let me see. She is signing an executive order to support illegal immigrants.
That's evident. You can bring that up in a trial.
Giving
use it as aggravating circumstance in sentencing.
An executive.
She's the mayor of the second largest city in the United States. You mean to tell me the fool hasn't read the law?
Mm-hmm.
It's been out there. It's not new.
I am here today to sign an executive directive, and I just want to point out the irony for a minute, that there is a need for me to have an executive directive to help our city understand how to protect itself from our federal government. Just let that sink in for a minute. What we have seen here over the last now going on 6 weeks of raids that pop up, and we never know exactly when and where they're going to happen. We've seen them in the general region. I'm sure many people saw Camarillo yesterday and what broke out there. We saw MacArthur Park earlier this week, which I think now, after all assessments, it is viewed as just a display of force, just to put the city in its place, to say we are the federal government, we can roll out troops whenever we choose. So the executive directive that I will be signing in a few minutes is to help the city family, to help the city workforce, to help the city departments and all of the general managers essentially develop preparedness plans that have specific protocols and that help city workers know how to address immigration officials should they approach a city department. How we abide by the law, but we understand what our rights are as city employees, how we can provide protection for immigrants who might be attending a city event or at a city property, but we stay within the law.
That is giving aid, comfort.
I am here to
counsel, procuring, giving comfort or assistance to those who are illegal aliens in their ability, or assisting and giving all of the above again to allow them or assist them in escaping apprehension, detention, and deportation under the law. That's a felony. So let's bust a little trifling behind and see what happens. It ought to be great fun. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm looking at people right here who have been for 30 years doggedly trying to F up the whole place with their idea of what they're trying to be about. This is an effort that is a carryover from what the Biden-Harris administration was doing, anticipating that one of those two clowns, Joe in the Ho, one or the other, was going to be the new president of the United States and would issue a retroactive order granting asylum status to particular groups of political refugees effective to January 2020, which under American law would result in their automatic citizenship 5 years later without having to take a single course, class, be tested, or anything, which would mean they would be eligible to vote right now, and they could vote in next year's midterm elections and guarantee the Democratic Party absolute control of politics in the United States for decades.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their little filthy scam was, and they've jeopardized the security of the United States of America in the process with this little selfish, by any means necessary cabal that is trying to impose this rainbow cult on the country. And
So
that is a disgrace. It is a shame. And it is a lie told very loudly. And a fool is eating. What did I say? You tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anybody to believe it, including the liar. And the liars have begun to believe their own garbage. And this ought to get them in a federal prison.
she's also planning to provide cash assistance to those affected by the enforcement operations. The Los Angeles Times reported cash cards with a couple $100 on them would be distributed by immigrant rights groups in about a week. The money will come from city coffers, but from philanthropic partners. So
That's aiding and abetting. That's giving cash on her instructions. That just ramps up the severity of the crime.
right, because she's saying that these illegals, they're too scared to go to work.
Well,
And
why should they be working if they're illegals?
so she's
Do
compensating
you hear
them.
what that says?
Right.
In other words, they are scared to break the law. Isn't that the purpose of having laws in the first place and effective enforcement, where the crook gets scared to commit the crime? Oh my goodness. How abominably stupid. It's embarrassing.
So I want to play this clip. It's only 24 seconds. She's talking to journalist April Ryan. Now, April Ryan, she covers a lot of Black news. So I just want to play this clip real quick.
And you have the federal government that has seized power from a governor and is attempting to seize authority and power in a city. This is, to me, an example of why I say that LA is a petri dish. LA is a petri dish, and they are practicing on us. The experiment is on us. And you have the
What is she talking about?
No, it's not, fool. 1957, Governor Orville Faubus of Arkansas said he would not follow American law. So President Ike Eisenhower, former general in command of the United States Armed Forces, said, okay, you said you aren't going to follow the law. You said you are going to continue to break the law. So I'm sending in 14,000 troops. Now deal with that. And Newsom has said he's not going to follow the law. So Trump does not need his permission any more than 68 years ago. Eisenhower did not need Faubus's permission to send in U.S. military personnel to enforce the law in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So it's a precedent, you dumb bunny. Didn't you ever get this in school? No, I forgot. You went to school in California, or did you go elsewhere and didn't get an education because they wanted you to be a fool? And the question begs itself. It's not whether you're looking at a fool, it's how big a fool can a fool be.
So I want to play this other clip here, right? Because you heard about ICE raiding a marijuana cannabis field, and it were kids working in that cannabis field out in California. So this is a segment on CNN to where when somebody brings up the fact that not only are they illegal, but they're underage. So these liberals, Democrats, they're talking about, well, ICE is raiding and tearing families apart, but no one isn't discussing, why do we have a whole bunch of illegals, but a whole bunch of underage kids? How did they get there? So I want to play this
Got
Cliff.
crack dealers down in the hood selling drugs and poisoning people, and somebody's complaining. But you're breaking up their family if you send them to prison.
Let's look at what just happened at the Glass Farm, the Glass House marijuana farm. Here's what people don't want to see. On the other side, they don't want to see people throwing rocks into the cars of federal agents. They don't want to hear that someone supposedly opened fire on them. They also don't want to learn that there are a bunch of kids there that are undocumented or unaccompanied, and they think this is crazy talk, and we should be focusing on that. And I, for one thing, how did those kids get there?
Well, I just want to add one thing. We do have to go, but the UFW, the United Farm Workers, put out a statement about this. They said the UFW can confirm farm workers were critically injured yesterday during chaotic raids in Ventura County, California. Others, including U.S. citizens, remain totally unaccounted for. Many workers, including U.S. citizens, were held by federal authorities at the farm for 8 hours or more. U.S. citizen workers report only being released after they were forced to delete photos and videos of the raid from their phones. They also added that farm work is exempted from child labor laws. So
you're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the
undocumented.
I'm not talking about
work at a marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
farms.
Look at the reality of what we're talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality.
Ignorant woman, it's not a matter of whether or not there's an exemption for child labor in agricultural fields. It's the fact that there have these 14-year-old undocumented types, whether or not they comply with labor laws, growing marijuana in an illicit, unregistered facility that is not operating under California regulations, which, by the way, even though this is legal as per California, it is not as per United States law. It's still against federal law. So you have 14-year-olds actively engaged in violation of federal statutes. So what do you have to say about that? You want to obfuscate this and deal with inconsequential nonsense about, but they were 14 and they aren't required to be adults to labor in agricultural fields in the rules that you have. No, but they are required to otherwise obey the law. We've got 20,000 plus convicted murderers that have been released into the United States thanks to the open borders and this illegal thing. We don't know where they are. We have about the same number of sex offenders. We have all sorts of perverts, people with incurable forms of tuberculosis. We have 1.5 million military-aged male Chinese who are in their 20s who have walked across the border. We've got people from the Middle East, which includes Hamas and a whole lot of people from Gaza. We have Iranians who have walked across the border after we dropped 30,000 pound bombs on their high-tech facilities. We've got folk in Ukraine and Russians, and we've got Chinese who want to destabilize the whole damn place. So we will be so caught up in military involvements around the world, they can just step in and take Taiwan back in about 2 years. All of this is going on, and these jackasses are trying to keep this southern border off, even though their little scam about trying to take control of politics by getting illegals declared retroactively to be subject to asylum so that they can vote this year. That did not work.
Of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's
Which one is the reporter?
The black woman is the journalist and the host of the
Why
show.
in hell isn't she asking questions to elicit information instead of trying to propagandize with what is effectively illegal bullshit that has no application to the situation?
Yeah, so her show is like a panel debate discussion.
Why is it portrayed as news instead of entertainment? See, that's that corruption that started 35 years ago when CNN got bailed out of bankruptcy by the Gulf War I situation. And then they didn't have anything to do once it was over in 91. So they lapsed into this kind of bullshit, which is entertainment, and they switched it to propaganda really quickly. Why isn't she asking questions instead of why is it that we just have this editorialization nonstop, a la tabloid journalism, instead of having reporters who ask questions to elicit points of view that the public might need to hear?
They stopped doing that.
Yeah, that's what's wrong. That needs to stop.
Marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not.
If that's the law, that's outrageous.
They're cultivating
it. Changed.
The point is, this incident, and we're still learning a lot more about it, was very dangerous and put a lot of people, including ICE officers and those immigrants, in danger.
Federal law enforcement agents.
I agree with you, but the tactics are producing chaos and violence, and I think that is one of the things that's caused people to.
That's the first. That's my question.
We don't know.
Well,
we will find out.
Please, guys, come in. It would be so nice if you would make everything nice and smooth so no one has to act ugly, and it can be all about love. Why don't you just bring yourselves in and we can talk about this over coffee, maybe a little Chablis or something, you know?
So the other woman, she's saying, listen, you should not try to physically attack federal officers because
it is a crime.
It's a crime. And then if you do, they have a right to enact force upon you. And
yeah.
And then, but the big elephant in the room is, hello, there's a whole bunch of illegals. Hello, there's a whole bunch of minors. So you want to attack the officers that's really coming into, I think, saving these kids from being trafficked.
Oh my God, they've got on masks, these COVID-19 masks. Oh my God, it's so horrifying. Well, if you hadn't broken the law, you wouldn't need to worry about it. And if other folk get swept up in it, it's kind of a case of, hey, if these criminals hadn't broken the law by crashing our border, which you can't do anywhere else in the damn world, you can't go south and do it, they'll shoot you. So they can't crash the border going south. Let's say they try to get back down to Venezuela or something like that. Somebody's going to jack them up and put them in a concentration camp if they don't put them on a wall and let them prop it up for a few minutes before they collapse. No longer able to stand up.
When I heard this news about the cash payments, I thought this cannot possibly be true. But then on reflection, I thought, of course it's true, because California already provides the most generous benefits for illegal immigrants of any state by far. Newsom has driven Medicaid insolvent by giving out free comprehensive benefits for everyone. And now Bass is giving out these free cash cards. And apparently one of the ways you can get one is if you're too afraid to go into work. Well, number one, this fear, to the extent that it exists, is largely driven by Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, who have purposely incited fear and driven these rioters into a state of frenzy. But number two, if we say that if you're too afraid to go to work, you get free cash payments, I think that all of a sudden we're going to find there are a lot more people who are suddenly too afraid to go into work. But the real kicker in all this is that Karen Bass has chosen, of all groups, Churla to distribute the cards. Now remember, this is the group that got $34 million in funding and then played a central role in organizing the riots.
Hey, look, South Central LA, where I grew up, is hell. It's a shithole. High crime, awful. How in the hell can you expect a community to be about law and order when the people at the top are breaking the law this way? And South Central LA is going to hell, and it does not need an influx of illegals coming in and taking over, being co-opted, and money being spent to them, tax dollars going to them, and the whole damn state is otherwise goddamn broke. Right now, their civil courts have enough funding to operate just 3 days out of the week. The judges donate a good percentage of their salaries back so the courts can stay open 4 days out of the 5 business days of the week. The whole damn state is going to hell and broke. It's got the worst homeless crisis in the United States of America. And you bring in more people who say, you don't even belong here, but come in. And all of these good folk in America who are American citizens who are stuck out on the goddamn streets, you can leave them out there and say, screw you, you have problems, but we're going to bring in some newbies to the front of the damn line. Go to hell, people. You know, that's what it's about.
Karen, have you ever read the Constitution? You're not an independent sovereign nation. You're not South Carolina in 1861. This is not Fort Sumner. You can't do this. You're nullifying the federal government. You're subject to federal laws. You can't tell Los Angeles people, don't pay your income tax, federal income. That's a felony to do that. Ask Gavin. He said that essentially. He can be prosecuted if people do not pay their income tax. You can't tell a federal officer he has no jurisdiction. He has jurisdiction over the entire United States. He can go anyway. It's not just a federal courthouse in Los Angeles. He can go anywhere if it's a matter of federal law. And that's what immigration is. So you have no jurisdiction. Karen.
Thank you. That is a statement of the reality. So you got a governor of the biggest state in the United States, which is bigger than all but 6 or 7 countries in the world. And the goddamn fool is advocating a violation of long-standing law. You've got a jackass who is the mayor of the second largest city in the most powerful nation on the planet, advocating a violation of federal law. And the fool doesn't realize it, or the fool does not care. What kind of message does that send to the kids out on the streets, black, white, brown, red, yellow, about being law-abiding when the people at the top are just running rampant over American law? What kind of jackass fool are you to say that you are going to supersede American law? I know better. And you know where I learned? In the 5th goddamn grade in Los Angeles, California. And that's the same place these folk are trying to corrupt.